Hello and welcome to Exploring Bridgerton. Today we are listening closely to how the sound of the series evolves. Let us explore the music of Bridgerton Season 2.
It is wonderful to be back. And, this is a topic I'm particularly excited about
Me too.
because usually when we talk about a show like this, our minds go straight to the visuals, right?
Yeah.
The costumes, the set design, the smoldering looks between the leads
Oh, for sure. The chemistry.
and the chemistry. But today, we're doing something a bit different. We're asking you to sort of turn off the visual part of your brain, metaphorically, of course,
Yeah.
and just listen. We're tuning entirely into the audio.
Which I am so ready for because, and I feel like I speak for a lot of people here, the Bridgerton soundtrack isn't just, it's not background noise. It's a character in its own right. I mean, I have a playlist on my phone called Regency Bangers. It's exclusively string quartet covers from the show.
Of course you do.
I listen to it when I'm grocery shopping, and let me tell you, there is absolutely nothing like buying almond milk while a violin is just shredding a Madonna song. It makes you feel like the main character of your own life.
That's actually a perfect way to put it.
Right.
That feeling you're describing, that blend of the mundane and the absolutely majestic, that's precisely what the showrunners and composers are engineering.
Right.
But today, we want to look specifically at the evolution. Because if you really listen, Season 2 does not sound like Season 1. Not at all.
It really doesn't. And I noticed that too, even before we started prepping for this deep dive. Season 1 felt, I don't know, sparkly? Is that a word for sound?
I think it is.
It was like champagne popping. But Season 2, it felt different. It felt heavier.
Heavier is a great word for it. Or maybe denser.
Yes, denser. It felt more stressful, but like in a really good addictive way, you know?
That is exactly what we are here to unpack today. Our mission, really, is to analyze this sonic evolution of the ton.
I like that, sonic evolution.
We aren't just here to rank the songs, though we will definitely talk about the bangers.
Oh, we have to talk about the banger.
We have to. But we want to understand the metamorphosis that happened between that debut season and the sophomore outing. The goal isn't to say, this one was better. It's to understand how the entire architecture of the sound had to change to tell a completely different story.
A metamorphosis. I love that. It makes it sound so fundamental, like a complete biological change. A caterpillar to a butterfly, or maybe in this case, a diamond to what? Something harder?
Something harder, or maybe
Yeah.
a diamond to a ticking clock.
Ooh, I like that.
Because to really get the music, you have to look at the narrative engine of each season. So let's just go back for a second. Let's set the stage with Season 1. What was the driving force of Daphne Bridgerton's story?
Oh, it was discovery, 100%. It was her debut. She was the diamond of the first water. Everything was a first for her. First ball, first dance, first crush, first heartbreak. It all felt so wide-eyed. And let's be honest, once she met Simon, it was about a very specific kind of discovery. Let's call it brazen sexuality.
Brazen sexuality. Precisely. It was an external journey. It was all about opening doors and boldly walking through them. It was fast-paced, it was exciting, and ultimately, it was about release.
Right.
Now, contrast that with Season 2. We shift our focus to the eldest brother, Anthony Bridgerton. Is his story about discovery?
Oh, absolutely not. Anthony isn't discovering anything except maybe how dangerously high his blood pressure can go.
Right.
Anthony's story is all about repression. He is stressed, he's traumatized, he's trying to manage a family, a fortune, and his own emotions, basically by shoving them into a tiny box and sitting on the lid.
Exactly. So Season 2 is about internalization, it's about repression, and it's about trauma. And because of that, the music simply could not stay the same. If they had just copy-pasted that sparkly, discovery-driven sound from Season 1, it would have felt completely wrong for Anthony's journey.
It would have been jarring.
Completely. The music had to change. It had to reflect a slow burn rather than a whirlwind courtship.
So are we saying that because Anthony couldn't express his feelings, because he was so busy being the stoic, dutiful Viscount, the music had to do all the expressing for him?
In a nutshell, yes. The sources we're digging into today, which include some fantastic interviews with the composer Chris Bowers and music supervisor Justin Camps, but also some pretty heavy-hitting academic theory on the culture industry.
Ooh, getting serious.
We are, and they all point to this one idea. The music became the vessel. It became the container for everything that was being left unsaid.
Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this architectural shift, as we're calling it. We need to establish a baseline. What did season one actually sound like, technically speaking?
So if you look at the production notes and interviews with Chris Bowers, he talks a lot about the initial struggle. It wasn't like they just knew what the Bridgerton sound was from day one. The showrunner, Chris Van Dusen, gave them a directive that's kind of notoriously tricky for composers. He wanted a modern twist.
Oh, that's a terrifying instruction. Make it old, but make it new. That's how you end up with, like, bad techno remixes of
And
Mozart's.
they almost went there.
Yeah.
I mean, Bowers admits they tried some pretty wild things at first. He said he was experimenting with sampling Beethoven and putting these heavy hip-hop beats underneath it.
A part of me is morbidly curious to hear that.
A very small part of me, too.
But I am so, so glad that did not end up in the show. It would have felt like a parody. It would have broken the spell.
It would have completely broken the immersion. The breakthrough, the moment it all clicked, actually came from a very specific influence, Maurice Ravel.
Oh, the French composer.
That's the one. Van Dusen sent Bowers some of Ravel's piano pieces. Now, Ravel is early 20th century. He's an impressionist. So his music is romantic, it's dreamy, it's fluid. It often sounds like water. And crucially, it's not strictly Regency era, about 100 years too late for that. But it also isn't modern pop. It sat in this perfect emotional middle ground.
That makes so much sense. Now that you say it, Daphne's theme was so piano heavy. It had this rippling quality. It felt very soft.
It was majestic. That's
Yeah.
the word Bowers used. Season one was filled with major chords. It was music that represented social triumph. It was the sound of a fairy tale coming true.
Okay, so that's the baseline. Now fast forward to season two. Justin Camps comes on board as the music supervisor, and the whole philosophy shifts. The key words for season two, according to them, were moodier and deeper. Because we're not in a fairy tale anymore. We are, like you said, we're in a psychological drama.
We are in the Viscount's head.
Hey,
And this brings us to a concept I think we need to talk about, Viscount energy.
Viscount energy. I feel like I've dated people with Viscount energy. It's exhausting.
It can be. But in the context of the score, Viscount energy is described as propulsive and focused. Think about Anthony's life. It's a schedule. It's a list of duties. He does not have time for Ravel's dreamy, meandering piano melodies. He needs momentum. He needs to get things done.
That's such a great word for it. Propulsive. It felt like the music was constantly pushing us forward, like that ticking clock you mentioned.
Exactly. It mirrors his duty-bound life. And this, in turn, dictates the pacing, which is probably the single biggest difference between the two seasons. Season one was a fast courtship.
Yeah.
And to put it bluntly, there was a lot of sexual release.
Oh, yeah. The wildest dreams montage. That was not subtle. They were active. Very active.
Right. The tension was built, and then the tension was resolved physically, quite frequently. But season two, it's an agonizingly slow burn. It is 8 episodes of pure tension with almost no release until the very, very end.
It was torture. Wonderful, delicious torture. But torture nonetheless. I remember literally screaming at my television, just touch hands, for the love of God, do something.
And because they couldn't touch, because they were so restrained, the music had to step in and replace that physical intimacy. The consensus from the creative team is that the score was doing the heavy lifting for all of that repressed desire. So instead of a sex montage, you get a cello swelling in the lower register as they stare at each other across the room.
So the music becomes the pressure cooker, is what makes the whole thing feel like it's about to explode.
It creates the environment where the smallest look, the slightest breath feels absolutely explosive because the music is telling you that it is explosive.
Which leads us perfectly into the part of the show that everyone talks about, the pop covers. Because if the original score is the subconscious, the pop covers are like the conscious thoughts just screaming at us.
The art of the pop cover is truly the signature move of Bridgerton. But I think we need to look at this a little deeper than just, oh, hey, I know this song.
Okay.
We have some fascinating notes here referencing the philosopher Theodore Adorno.
Adorno, wow. Okay, we are getting fancy today.
We are about to apply critical theory to the Vitamin String Quartet. It's happening.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So Adorno wrote extensively about what he called the culture industry. And within that, he had this concept called pseudo-individualization.
Okay, let's unpack that. Pseudo-individualization. It sounds complicated.
It sounds complex, but the idea is actually quite simple. It's the notion that mass culture provides us with products that feel unique or new or tailored specifically to us, but are in reality deeply standardized and familiar.
So how does that apply to the string quartet covers?
Well, think about it. The show uses familiarity.
Yeah.
These are pop songs we already know and love, songs we've danced to at weddings or, cried to in our bedrooms.
Right, they come preloaded with emotion.
Exactly. But it disguises that familiarity with a classical veneer. It wraps them in the sound of string arrangement.
So the trick, like a musical Trojan horse.
You could see it that way.
Mhm.
I'd call it a strategy. It creates a very specific type of cognitive pleasure. First, you get the thrill of identifying the pop original.
Yeah.
You feel clever for recognizing it. Oh, that's Nirvana. And then you get the added pleasure of hearing it in this completely new, unexpected context. One of the academic sources we looked at argues this creates a synthetic aura.
A synthetic aura, what does that mean?
It means it feels like high art. To a casual ear, it might sound like Haydn or Mozart, but it's actually mass culture, perfectly calibrated for emotional synchronization.
Emotional synchronization. That sounds a little manipulative, doesn't it?
I mean, all storytelling is manipulative in a sense. It's designed to make you feel something. But this is a very efficient form of it. When you hear a song, you aren't just watching the scene unfold. You're actively bringing all of your own memories and feelings about that song into the scene.
That is so true. If they play a song that I listen to during a bad breakup, I am instantly 10 times more invested in the character's heartbreak because I'm remembering my own. I'm projecting.
Precisely. You're doing some of the emotional work for them. And in season 2, they use this strategy brilliantly. They use it for familiarity, sure, but they also use it for surprise. Which brings us to case study number 1, the shock of the new.
Oh, I know this one. The very beginning. Stay Away. Nirvana.
Yes. This track opens the season. It plays during a montage of Anthony just ruthlessly interviewing prospective wives.
Which was a hilarious scene, by the way. He's not looking for love. He's ticking boxes.
He is. He is treating marriage like he's hiring a new assistant. Or, as you said before, buying a horse.
It's a business deal.
It's a transaction.
Yeah.
And the music perfectly reflects that friction.
Hmm.
Stay Away is a Nirvana song. It's grunge. It's frenetic. It is aggressive.
It definitely woke me up. I remember sitting there and thinking, whoa, okay, this is not the soft, romantic string quartet I remember from Daphne's season. The strings sounded almost scratchy. They sounded harsh.
That was the entire point. It's meant to be a stark contrast to the flowing and lavish covers we got in season 1. The supervisor, Justin Camps, said he chose it specifically because it signals immediately that this season is about stress. It's about impossibly high standards. It is the Viscount energy in musical form.
It's almost like the music is yelling at us, just like Anthony is internally yelling at everyone to get out of his way so he can find a wife and be done with it.
And it creates a lyrical subtext, too, even without the words. The song is called Stay Away. He's inviting these women in to interview them, but his entire energy, his whole being, is screaming, stay away.
He's pushing them away emotionally while pulling them in practically. It's the central conflict of his character, right there in the first song.
It sets the tone perfectly. But then, of course, we have the moments where the song choice is just incredibly, wonderfully literal.
Yes. I call this category the literal and the lavish.
And you must be referring to the Sharma sisters' grand entrance.
I am. Material Girl by Madonna.
It is not subtle.
Not even a little bit. They walk into the pastel ball, and those famous first notes of the bass line start plucking on what a cello, dun 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 dun. It's iconic.
But think about why it works so well. It marks the Sharma sisters' official entry into the marriage mart, and the show has always been very upfront about the fact that this is, at its core, a marketplace.
Right. Kate is there on a mission to secure a rich, respectable husband for Edwina because their family has no money. It is quite literally a material world for them. They need material security to survive.
And the source material points out another brilliant layer. Who is watching them? Who is the ultimate judge and jury of this material world?
The Queen.
The Queen. And as the production notes say, the Queen always wants the finest. She's the ultimate material girl. So the song choice cleverly ties the sisters' desperation to the Queen's extravagant, demanding standards. It's all part of the same system.
And then they do it again just a little later with Diamonds by Rihanna.
Played, of course, at the Diamond Ball.
Right as the Queen is about to name Edwina the season's diamond. I mean, seriously, if the Queen had a Spotify playlist for her work events, this would be track 1.
It is right on the nose, as the expert note says.
Yeah.
But that's its function. It establishes the high stakes. In season 1, the diamond status was established mostly through dialogue and Lady Whistledown's narration. Here, it's stamped with a massive, globally recognized pop anthem.
Yeah.
It tells the modern viewer, you, sitting at home, pay attention. This is the Super Bowl of debutantes. This is a huge deal.
It really hypes you up. It makes you feel the intense pressure that Edwina is suddenly under. But then we get to the tension. Case study 3. And this is the one that, for me, just hits on another level.
Dancy on My Own by Robin.
The official anthem of sad people in clubs everywhere. And in this case, sad people at Regency balls.
This is, arguably, one of the most important musical cues in the entire season. The context is everything here. It plays during Anthony and Kate's very first dance.
And the situation is just so messy. Anthony is publicly courting Edwina. He's supposed to be with her sister. But then he asks Kate to dance.
And you have to think about the lyrics of that song. I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her. I'm right over here. Why can't you see me? It's a song about the agony of being an observer.
Yes, of being on the outside looking in.
But usually it's a song about unrequited love, where the people are physically apart. The genius here is that they are dancing together.
That's the brilliance of it. That's the twist. They are physically connected, they are touching, they are moving in perfect sync, but emotionally, they are both dancing on their own.
Explain that.
Well, Anthony is bound by his duty to Edwina. Kate is bound by her duty to push him toward Edwina. They're completely isolated in their own longing, even while they're literally in each other's arms. It's a prison of their own making.
So the song captures that looking at each other tension perfectly.
Yeah.
The visual is all about connection, but the lyrical subtext, the feeling of the song, is all about isolation. It creates this incredible contradiction in your brain that just feels like pure electricity.
You're just begging them to stop dancing and kiss or run away or do something to break the spell, but they can't.
And that leads us inevitably to the anger, because eventually all that repressed longing has to turn into frustration.
Case study 4, anger and release. And we have to talk about Alanis Morissette. We have to talk about You Ought to Know.
This was a fascinating choice. And again, placement is key. It doesn't play at a ball. It plays during that incredibly tense argument they have in the woods at sunrise.
Ah, the bane of my existence era. His best era.
Precisely. This track just perfectly captures the bitterness and heat of the enemies to lovers trope. I mean, You Ought to Know is one of the most iconic, angriest breakup songs ever written. It is absolutely scathing.
It is. It's messy and it's raw and it's full of hurt.
And using that melody here, even just the instrumental, gives the scene that propulsive quality we talked about. It's driving the viewer, breathless, into the next episode. It represents this undying connection that both of them are so furiously denying.
Right. They're angry because they're so attracted to each other. They are furious at the power the other person has over them.
It's that feeling of, why can't I just walk away from you? Why do you have this hold on me?
Yes. And then finally, after all that anger, after all that tension, we get the release. Wrecking Ball, Miley Cyrus.
At the final dance, the Featherington Ball.
This is the moment where the walls come down. After the scandal, after the failed wedding, after everything has been publicly and spectacularly ruined, they can finally dance freely.
And Wrecking Ball is a song about destruction, yes, but it's also about complete vulnerability. I came like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard in love. It's about letting go of all your defenses.
It is the moment of surrender. They aren't hiding anymore. The music is telling us that the Viscount energy, that stiff, repressed, stay-away vibe from the very first episode, has finally been shattered.
It's such a satisfying arc to go from stay away to wrecking ball.
From don't come near me to I am crashing into you whether we like it or not.
It's a complete narrative journey told entirely through the strategic choice of pop covers. But there's one cover we haven't discussed yet, and this one. This one was a true watershed moment for the series.
Oh, I know exactly which one you mean. The Bollywood moment. This was huge.
It was. So let's move into section 3 of our deep dive, cultural synthesis.
This was the moment that truly broke the internet, or at least a very specific and very, very excited corner of the internet. We are talking about the string cover of Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham.
Often referred to by its acronym, K3G.
Yes, and this plays in episode 6 during the Haldi ceremony.
For anyone who might not know, the haldi is a pre-wedding ritual in many South Asian cultures. It involves applying a paste of turmeric, oil, and water. It's a moment of blessing, skin preparation, and most importantly, family bonding.
And the track they chose for this intimate family moment, it's arguably the most recognizable Bollywood melody of the last 2 decades. For a lot of people, that song is the sound of their childhood.
It was the first time a non-Western pop song was given the full Bridgerton string cover treatment. And I remember reading the reactions online. For so many viewers, this was a massive deal.
It was. It felt like a real statement.
It was. And to understand why it was so significant, we have to look at the film connection. The 2001 film Kabikushi Kabigam isn't just a movie, it is a cultural touchstone.
It's like the Titanic or the Godfather of modern Bollywood family dramas, right? In terms of its scale and impact.
That's a great comparison. The film focuses on themes of family loyalty, the pain of estrangement from your parents, and the heavy burden of tradition. Does any of that sound familiar?
That sounds exactly like Anthony Bridgerton's entire life story. And Kate's story, too, in a way. The burden of family duty.
Precisely. The film's protagonist struggles to live up to the legacy of a great father, which directly mirrors Anthony's trauma regarding his father, Edmund. So purely on a musical and thematic level, it is the perfect match. But there's a much deeper layer here when it comes to the Sharma family specifically.
Right, because the Sharmas are from India. They are outsiders in the ton.
And Sharithra Chandran, the actress who plays Edwina, spoke about this so movingly in an interview. She said hearing that song on set made her cry because it so perfectly represents the immigrant experience.
How so? What does she mean by that?
She noted that the Sharmas are essentially immigrants who are working so hard to be London. They're wearing the Regency gowns, they're learning the proper dances, they're playing the game by the tons rules.
Mm-hmm. They're assimilating.
They are. But in moments of deep private emotion, whether it's joy or sadness, they revert back to their culture.
That is such a beautiful and powerful observation. So when they're alone, just the three women applying the turmeric, they aren't performing for the ton anymore. They're not trying to be English ladies. They're just being themselves.
And the music reflects that safety, that comfort, and that identity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a moment that shifts the narrative away from trauma, which is so often the only story told about people of color in period dramas, and centers it firmly on joy and pride.
And visually, it was just stunning. They're all dressed in those beautiful yellow and marigold colors, which blend with the color of the turmeric paste. It felt so warm and authentic.
And there's a brilliant editing choice here, too. The scene is intercut with Anthony's bachelor party.
Which is just, a bunch of dudes getting drunk and being chaotic.
Male jesting, as the notes call it. But the contrast is so striking. You have this incredibly tender, culturally specific female bonding moment set to this deeply emotional Bollywood track, and you cut that against the cold feet and rowdy anxiety of the men. It creates a synergy that just elevates the entire episode.
It really grounded the Sharmas in the show's world. It wasn't just token diversity like, oh, look, we cast Indian actresses. It felt rooted in their history, in their culture.
That is the power of cultural synthesis in music. I can
Yeah.
tell you who these people are, where they come from, and what they value, all without a single line of dialogue.
So we've talked a lot about the pop songs, but we absolutely have to give credit to the man behind the actual score, Chris Bowers.
We absolutely do. Because while the covers get all the headlines and the Spotify plays, the original score is the connective tissue. It's the glue holding the entire emotional landscape of the season together.
And he had a really tough job this season. He had to figure out what to do with the Simon and Daphne theme, the main love theme from season 1.
The I Burn For You music.
Exactly that. Do you keep it? Do you get rid of it? What's the protocol?
It was a huge compositional challenge.
Mm.
Bauer said he decided that the diamond theme could be reusable. It could be applied to whoever the queen names the diamond each season. But the central couple, they need a new sound. You cannot recycle a love theme.
Especially not for a couple as completely different as Anthony and Kate. I mean, Simon and Daphne were. They were smooth. Their story was like a waltz. Anthony and Kate are jagged. They're a fencing match.
Restrained, angsty, and unsettled. Those are the three words the production team used to describe the Canthony sound.
I love that. Unsettled. It fits them perfectly. They're constantly knocking each other off balance, emotionally and literally.
So let's trace the evolution of their theme throughout the season. It starts appearing pretty early on in a track called A Gift for Edwina.
Which is such a deceptive title because the scene is really about Kate and Anthony's interaction over the gift.
Exactly. The music is already telling us where the real story is. But as the angst really ramps up, that simple theme evolves into tracks with titles like Not Far Enough and To Wait.
Oh, those titles alone. To Wait. It hurts just hearing it. It immediately brings me to that scene in the library during the thunderstorm. The unbearable tension.
And musically, these tracks start to use lower registers, more urgent strings. It feels heavier, more claustrophobic. It's that Viscount energy again. It's the sound of holding back with all your might.
And there's that one track, Sharpening My Knives. That one stands out too.
That is actually the primary Lady Whistledown theme for the season. It utilizes these really sharp, rhythmic, staccato strings.
Staccato. That's the short, punchy notes, right?
Yes, like typewriter key striking paper. Or a knife. It represents her tactical maneuvering, her sharp words cutting through the ton. But for Anthony and Kate, their musical journey ends with a track called Newlyweds.
Ah, the payoff. Finally.
Finally, the main Canthony theme returns, but it's completely stripped of the angst, the tension, the unsettled feeling. It's rearranged to represent uncomplicated joy.
Which is all we wanted for them for 8 episodes.
But compare that journey to Season 1. The big theme in Season 1's score was called Love's a Choice. It was about agency, about Daphne deciding her path. Season 2's emotional culmination is in a track called I Love You. It's not about choice. It's about surrender.
Love is a choice versus surrender. Wow, that is a huge philosophical difference in how you approach a love story.
It is, and the score reflects that. The notes describe the music in Season 2 as being less about filler during silent moments, which Season 1 occasionally used it for, and more about actively intensifying the drama. It serves as, and I love this term, effective infrastructure.
Effective infrastructure. That sounds like a civil engineering term for feelings.
In a way, it is. The music is building the bridges and the tunnels to get you from one emotion to the next. It's structuring your emotional response so you don't fall off the cliff of angst.
Which brings us to the bigger question, the psychology of sound. Because we've touched on this, but I really want to dig deeper into why this all works so well on our brains.
We have to go back to the slow burn mechanism. We mentioned earlier that the music effectively replaces the sex montage of Season 1.
Which, again, is a massive shift in storytelling.
Season 2 deliberately strips back the physical intimacy. So the music's job becomes underscoring the subtle moments. A heavy breath, the brushing of hands, a stolen stare across a crowded room.
There's a fantastic quote in our notes that says, the music turns these small moments into sexy evocations of passionate sensuality.
It's quite a phrase, isn't it? But it's dead on. The music magnifies these micro movements. If you were to watch those scenes with the sound off, they might just look like two people standing awkwardly near each other.
Right.
With the music, with that swelling score underneath, it becomes an earth-shattering act of intimacy.
It creates the feeling of a touch without the actual touch. It's the music that tells you, hey, pay attention. That pinky finger grazing his hand, that's a bigger deal than anything that happened in Season 1.
Exactly. But this is where the expert view comes in again. We have to address the Adorno critique one last time.
The philosopher is back for the grand finale.
He is. Because Adorno talks about this concept of administered listening.
This sounds like homework. Administered listening, what does that mean?
It's the idea that the show, and the culture industry in general, is training its audience to respond to pre-coded emotions.
Meaning what?
Meaning, we aren't reacting spontaneously from our own hearts. We are reacting because we have been programmed to. When the strings swell in a minor key, we know, okay, this is sad, time to feel heartbreak. When the beat drops in a familiar pop cover, we feel, recognition, this is exciting.
So we're like Pavlov's dogs, but with violins instead of bells?
In Adorno's admittedly cynical view, yes, he would argue that even though it feels like a deeply personal emotional experience, it is actually standardized and calculated. It's just part of the industrial production of pleasure.
That is deeply cynical. Are you telling me my feelings aren't real when I watch the show?
Adorno might say they are manufactured, but, and this is a very important but, there's a paradox here. Even though it is standardized, even though we know we're being manipulated, the excessive sweetness and the sheer perfection of the production allow for a genuine emotional experience to break through.
Right. Just because I know the music is trying to make me cry doesn't mean the tears rolling down my face aren't real.
Exactly. The source we looked at calls this a profane illumination.
Ooh, profane illumination. I like that.
It means finding a moment of genuine truth or authentic feeling inside the artificial, mass-produced commodity. The music, in this case, allows the modern audience to see themselves in a period piece. It's the tool that bridges that 200-year temporal gap.
That makes perfect sense, because if they only played actual 1814 music, I might feel detached. I might feel like I'm watching a historical document. But when they play Wrecking Ball, I'm right there with Kate and Anthony. I know that feeling of surrender.
And that is the ultimate brilliance of the Bridgerton musical strategy.
Okay.
It willingly sacrifices historical accuracy for emotional accuracy.
Emotional accuracy. I love that. It's not about what music was actually playing in ballrooms in 1814. It's about what falling in love feels like right now in 2022.
Precisely. And in Season 2, Falling in love felt like stress, repression, duty, anger, and eventual explosive release.
And bangers. You can't forget the bangers.
Never forget the bangers.
So, looking back at this whole sonic evolution, it really feels like the show grew up a bit in season 2. The music became more complex, more mature.
It absolutely did. It moved from being a novelty in season 1, so sort of, look, we're playing pop songs on strings
Yeah, well,
idea, to becoming a tool for the deepening of the universe in season 2. The music became a character with its own arc. As the human characters evolved from duty to love, the music evolved right alongside them, from restrained to joyful.
it's just amazing how much thought goes into something that, on the surface, just seems like a really fun playlist.
It is never just a playlist. It is a narrative device. It
Ah.
creates the world just as much as the sets or the costumes do.
Well, I can guarantee that the next time I'm listening to Dancing on My Own while folding laundry, I'm going to be thinking about Viscount energy and administered listening.
And hopefully you'll still enjoy the music.
Oh, I definitely will. Maybe even more.
That was our deep dive into the music of Bridgerton Season 2. Sometimes change is loud. Sometimes it is almost invisible. Join us next time as we continue exploring Bridgerton one detail at a time.